In this video, we're going to talk about all of the new AI plugins inside DaVinci Resolve. All right, Sean, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
All right, so we got Resolve 21.
That's right.
I know the big feature is the photo page, but I would love to talk about the new AI features.
Okay. All right, great.
Can we? Yeah, do you want to walk through what are some of the new AI features?
Definitely, there's quite a few of them. We've got a few timelines that are kind of pre-built for this demo. And if I just scroll over here for a minute, let's start with AI CineFocus. All right, AI CineFocus is, and I'm showing these timelines in the edit page. Obviously, we're going to get to the color page for the tool set, but just as a quick example, right? When I get to the color page, you'll see exactly what I've got available.
And so most of these new AI plugins you would apply them in the color page?
Yes,
okay. These
are Resolve effects. These are in the color page. You can sort here in the settings library, right? If we just do that and start looking for everything that says AI, everything that says blurs, right? So you can sort everything through here, but they're just in the refine section, right? So blur, color, film emulation, generate key, light, open color, and refine.
Okay.
Some of the new ones that I was going to show you, like the face age transformer, which kind of builds on the previous face refinement.
Okay.
So yeah, in this particular tool, AI CineFocus, we have a few different controls at the top, and what we were looking at was the depth map. But if I show you essentially the result, and let's get out of highlight mode. So in the results section, we're just looking at the final picture. If we switch this tool to show the open effects overlay, we now have the target for where the blur is going to be.
Okay.
So that also means that, as you can see, that's enabled, track focus 2 point, and no foreground blur. This means that no matter what I'm doing with it, I never really want to blur this section here, right? So I can turn that on or off. Track focus to point opens up the X and Y controls, and that makes them, controllable with keyframes.
Okay.
So we can set a keyframe, say, between this and this point.
We're going to have a fake rack focus.
And have a rack focus after the fact.
Yeah.
So as you can see, all I have to do is really just take this tool and decide where my focus is.
Okay.
And the AI CineFocus does the rest.
And so it's basically creating kind of a depth map and then doing this fall off.
Precisely.
And then are you able to adjust how much the focus fall off is?
And these are the controls that are up here at the top. So right now, looking at the result, it was very simple. We said very quickly, that's the focal point I want, but we want to get more granular. We can come in and adjust the aperture of that.
Okay.
So we can add different iris shapes and rotation and things like that.
So it does that affect the bokeh?
It does affect the bokeh, yeah. And everyone pronounces it differently. It's bokeh, right? It's, So you can see those lens properties here are currently unselected, like chromatic aberration, and the aperture controls, shaped, spherical, anamorphic, number of blades, rotation, etc.
So not just a focus emulator, but
it's a full camera lens replication in a focal pole. Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's a very deep set of tools. So let's go back, and to the top here we have controls over the focus as well, because the focus or aperture control gives us depth map control. So when we want to say adjust the map levels, then we have control over the near and the far limit this way. In addition, right, this is building our depth map, basically, right? The gamma, the post-processing is a little bit of softening that happens. Go back up to the top, you can see, we're doing this sort of in reverse order to show you the functions and then the tools. The source is the internal source right now. It's generating this. So the plugin itself is generating the depth map. However, if you've already got a depth map, if you've already rendered it separately, then you can feed that depth map in to the alpha input as well. You just have to select that. Right? Adjust map levels, just really, beautiful focal changes, complete with animation capability. And,
that's great. Okay, this was way more in depth than I realized from the demo.
Yeah, that's the thing. They can only show so much in the little demo. We're gonna get a little further down. So let me get one. Next shot going here. We've got the car shot. Now we've used this one before, right? But the car shot previously, when the cinematographer, focused on this, they wanted the city to be back focus, in focus as well as the car, and that's now something that you can just select, right? We can just decide, is the city going to be in focus, or is the car going to be in focus, right? Because this depth of field is something that we can control after the fact, and you can see this little red indicator. right? That's because we have it on caching, and that process took just a little second there. But now you can see that the back is sharp and the foreground is fuzzy. Really high-powered capability.
Awesome.
And like I said, these are keyframeable, which also means that because that says track focus to point, we add a tracker to this, we track that focal point, we can make those changes across, say, moving footage.
So you can just already track your object and then just link it to that track
your object and then make sure track
not have
focus
to
to point is
manually
on.
try to figure out.
Exactly.
how to
You don't have to
keyframe it.
chase it yourself with manual keyframes, right?
Okay, that's awesome.
But manual keyframes will also work, if that's all you've got. So let's go ahead and find this CineFocus. I use the built-in search bar here, but one of the functions inside, the newer Resolves, right?
Okay.
In version 20 and later, you can just use the shift space bar and it finds it for you. So just easy shortcuts everywhere. But yeah, depth of field on this map here, and you can see this is kind of like the interface when we're not choosing to track the focal point, right? No focus to track. It just gives us a simple slider for focus distance instead, right? So depth of field and focus distance rather than the trackable object. In this case, it's a flat shot and we're watching the action happen this way. It wouldn't need to be tracked.
Yeah.
So again, with depth of field, focus, aperture, and the final result just allows us the option, of picking our focal point. Really, really powerful stuff here in the new CineFocus.
Yeah, this is great. All right, next.
If we go to next filter, let's go to something like.
Do you have the Sharpen or the up? The up-res Sharpen one?
That's right. Yes, it is. It's a sharpener, right? It's the Ultra Sharpen.
The Ultra Sharpen.
Right, and then the other one that's kind of similar to that would be the Motion Deblur.
Yes.
So you have things that are moving, So all right. So if I do, let's just do some Motion Deblur here. I'll open this timeline. I guess we have backup timelines as well. And there it is. All right, now let's go back, find a particularly nasty part of this motion blur, right, on the sign itself. Well, the way that the motion deblur works is it actually generates a new source clip from it. So you get a cleaned source clip as a replacement. We've put that on the top layer, and then just toggling its visibility on and off gives us the ability to clean up a moving sign.
Yeah, that's what. Are there any input settings or controls you can give it, or is it?
So it's it's basically the slider that you're working on.
Also, could this work with slightly out of focus stuff, like an interview that?
You know what? I think it does work on that pretty well, but I think you might want this one instead, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Because as an example, in this, which is the Ultra Sharpen, if we move over to the color page, you can see that we have that node just disabled right now. So we get detail back in the hair, we get additional highlights. You can see the same thing when we move over to the bird. The bird also had some denoise pass.
How is this different than super scale?
Well, super scale is the algorithm that's actually going to do the transform from one size clip to another size clip. It's going to present itself like the new original size clip at the scaled size.
Okay, so, but it's still adding some pixels back,
so it's going to be doing yes, because it's actually creating a larger frame and pixels that didn't exist.
Yeah,
right from the existing
it's not just stretching it; it's filling
it's stretching it, but it's stretching it in a smart way with the AI tools to properly up-res, and it's less of a pixel motion than it is more like a vector, if you can remember back to the other kinds of rasterization of pixels on screen, right? When we're talking about graphics, these are all drawn to screen once, but essentially if you're looking at like the scale algorithm that's happening there in the AI superscale is doing a little bit of the sharpening as well. So if you've taken footage that's already come in and maybe, like you said, maybe you were just a little bit off, by a couple of millimeters on that focal length, you can come back in here to the AI superscale and, to the AI Ultra Sharpen on that footage.
Now the Ultra Sharpen is generating pixels that
Ultra Sharpen is exactly attempting to find where the edges might have been obscured and reveal them again. And yes, it's doing that with the magic that's hidden within the tools themselves.
Yes. Okay. Locally, everything here that we're talking about is running locally.
If we've got we've got a sharpen amount and a global blend. So you either get the sharpening or you do not get the sharpening based on the slider. And then the blend is just a matter of like an opacity slider over the top. Like how strong of an effect are you going to bring to it?
And how much do you want to blend in your original?
Exactly, the original back over it. So yeah, let's see. Does this? So there's the sharper version of the bird, right? And let's go actual size. We're being.
Yeah, that's great. And what was the original?
Yeah, so the original is the one that had no effect.
Yeah, the head is like way more detailed and sharper.
Right.
You can see the feathers.
You can see feathers. You can see feathers on his head.
Yeah.
Some parts of it are a little softer than others there. A lot of motion.
Yeah.
A lot of motion interpolation. And a lot of ultra noise and ultra sharpening going on right there. But you can see it's fully linked into like the rest of the workflow. So if you wanted to denoise your stuff first, that's just a node. We tend to do that at the beginning. It's easier to cache at the beginning because then you end up with much faster results later in the node flow.
Okay, so you'll denoise and then sharpen it?
Yeah, I'll denoise and then much of anything else, usually, if I have to.
Okay.
So if I have noisy footage, it's usually the first thing that I'm doing, and then I can cache it. Okay. In this case, you can see we've got the cache enabled because it turned blue, right? And that's because under this playback menu render cache, we're on smart mode. Smart mode just makes a little assumption, decides those are probably processor intensive. Let's go ahead and cache them to the disk. You know, make it easier to play back in real time. Then the more we have that first node, like the noise cached, we can just build a bigger node flow. Yeah, and everything will play in real time.
What else we got in the?
Okay, so we've got here some more face stuff, right? So let's do the blemish remover. Okay. So here's the blemish remover, and you've already seen this shot. So here, let me move. I zoom in here so you can see the detail. Yeah. Right? Because there's some fine hair and some pores, right? And we haven't lost any of that detail. However, we have removed all of those blemishes, and you can see, before and after pretty simply.
Crazy. And this is another just strength.
A straight strength adjustment with a very narrow focus. Now you can combine this, as you see, we've got a number of things that are going on, but you can combine this with any secondaries. So if you wanted to make a power window around an area, track that power window, or if you wanted to use Magic Mask to make a selection for you, you can apply that same region to essentially the blemish removal. So you don't have to do it across a global picture like this. You can just target a
specific
blemish.
area. And that's straightforward, but looks great.
And the same concept over here. We're basically just doing a slight bit of removal on some spots on her face, that kind of go away. A little bit over here. Yeah. Very nice. And this is just one of those things. We're doing an awful lot of retouching. Everything in this is retouching. The face refinement. We have, if I go back to there, actually, let me just stay on the color page, open my media pool. It makes it easier for me. So here, let's open the age transformer because this is pretty interesting too.
Yeah, this one's pretty wild.
Okay. Again, really, really wild because what we've done here is we've set a couple of keyframes. So the subject's age is what you input. In this case, we know this is a 40-year-old man. We've set 40. We've dropped a couple of keyframes. So we have one keyframe here where he's at his age and no offset is applied. We have a previous keyframe where we take 20 years away from him, right? Oh, here, there's too many keyframes.
That's too much.
Right? So we take 20 years away from him. And then we drop into here. Why do I have a keyframe there? Doesn't matter. We drop into the next keyframe where we've made him a little bit older.
Now he's 130.
The age offset. I don't believe that's accurate, and we've added 90 years to his age. I don't believe so, but that would make him 130. I don't believe
this is How much of the face and how much of like a clear shot of the face do you need for this?
It's doing face detection, right? So again, it's a selection that you can make. You detect the face in the scene, you pick the face that you'd like to make the change to. You'll see an overlay when that happens, right? So detect faces and show overlay indicates this is the person. Then you're going to track it forward and back like you're going to track the other ones. Okay. The face refinement tool the same.
And I saw if you had an alpha mask or something you already did before.
If you already had an alpha mask, you can feed it into the input. Yeah. So very flexible. So then I've done Age Transformer and Blemish. Let's do another face reshape.
Okay, and this one is kind of like the performance modifier?
This is exactly what that is. This is a performance modification because, you know, we have control over these attributes, much like we do in the face refinement.
Yeah.
So having tracked these faces, detected, tracked them, we've now opened up all of these attributes to control. So face location for manual adjustments, we don't have manual adjustments enabled here, but we do have face shape adjustments. Adjust eyes, but not separately. You can change that, right?
Okay.
And then adjust nose, mouth, and eyebrows, again, combined rather than separate. But you could give one eyebrow a slant, right? And very simply, that's, you know.
And in this one, what are we? We're changing the mouth, or we're changing
all of the mouth shapes, right? and then to illustrate that, we're just creating a little keyframe animation between the two, so we can show that, you know, they're a little cranky at first,
and then they get happier.
Yeah,
it's kind of wild,
right? It is kind of wild, but you know, pretty effective.
It does what it says.
It does what it says, yeah. And all the granularity here inside the mouth, the eyebrow control, right? Because what I haven't adjusted is, like, you know, the position of the eyebrows, right? But you can see, oh, now we want to make her a little bit more, you know, aware of it and a little less angry. You know, we can control a little tiny bit of these emotional cues.
Running off the same face tracker, because kind of similar question, like, do you need a clear shot of the face? Does it work if it's like a half angle, or how much?
Yeah,
how
I
much
mean,
of
in
the
this
face
case,
does it
they are
need?
facing us, and we're going to have far less control once they turn past 3/4 view, right? So a full profile, it will only see the profile, you know, the side of the face, right?
Okay, how many faces can it track?
That's a very good question. It says detect faces, and then you usually will get to choose, you know, the face that you'd like to control.
And you would just do a different filter for us. We have daughter, father. We have
daughter and
nodes.
father separately.
So you could just
so each
track
node,
each
you just decide which face you're going to control with the node.
Okay.
Face reshaping and motion deblur, and I did the ultra sharpen. I did the motion deblur on the name. I didn't get to do it on the other stuff. Oh, I don't have that clip. That's why I didn't get to do it on the other stuff. Yeah. Then when we get to, like, some of the other AI tools that maybe aren't the shinier effect-based tools, right? But incredibly useful. Some of my favorites, in fact. If you look here at this part of the interface, we have the AI clip analysis pass. Now, analyzing it for intelligence search, the IntelliSearch function identifies faces. We can add markers for the color of the slate that it finds. It'll simply drop a duration marker every place it found a slate. So when slate's visible and slate's off, it'll drop a marker for it.
Extract the data.
It can extract the data from the slate. Okay, that's another feature too, actually. Transcription with speaker detection and audio classification. Once you've analyzed your bins, and of course, you get a choice of how to analyze the bins. Do you want to specify the bin or perform an analysis across all clips?
With the speaker or the person identification, is it tracking the people and then you can kind of name them and they're persistent in the project?
It'll find the faces, right? So if we're looking in the smart bins now, we have all these keywords. Some of these showed up from, you know, face tracking. And the fact that we recognize that, here, let me go to thumbnail view, right? We recognize that that's Sean Villian from the, you know, 6K camera shoot that we also have in here.
Yeah.
And so this person, when we do a search, IntelliSearch for Sean, we find Sean. From that, we can then save a smart bin from our IntelliSearch. So any of these things that we're looking for, if we go to, say, the bin specifically for this, right? Like all of our demo media, and we search all of our demo media for, well, I don't need to do the analysis, but if I just click the search pass, right, I can choose the selected bin that I've chosen, and I can choose whether I want to see full clips or just the segments that match.
Okay.
So that works where, you know, if I'm doing an IntelliSearch for Sean, right, as it starts to find, you know, all matching clips, that becomes either a bin that I can generate, right, or this I can add as a smart bin. So by default, it's already filtered into a bin view.
So you could already save whatever.
But if I have some, you know, analysis pass searches that I need to do across my many B-roll clips, right, then I can imagine just saving that as a smart bin.
That's a lot easier than
it.
being able to having to rebuild the smart bin filter search.
Totally. I mean, these smart bins are automatically created, right? And the ones that we saw that were in preferences, those are automatic as well. So we enable those in preferences, automatic smart bins for people and scene. And for offline clips, I actually used to make this one myself before we added that.
Handy as well.
Yeah, look at a timeline, find out if you have any offline clips missing, especially for conform. Right? But that means everything in the uncategorized, subcategorized, and people is automatically populated by everything that it found in the analysis. So now all the people across all the places, all the faces it found, as well as any subcategories, they're automatically created bins for us.
You can rename them, and then if it finds them again, it'll tag it with that person.
Right, exactly. So in this case, these smart bins just work to, as something matches, right, as you start adding media to your project, and the metadata matches this, it'll automatically sort in there anyway.
Is there any connection between the faces it finds, and if you do speaker identification and transcripts, that to connect?
Presently, that's not connected. It's a great feature. I'm sure I'll take a note about that. But we do, when we release all the faces, they automatically generate a bin full of content for the face that you've searched for. So yeah, and I could see how that would be really interesting to do too. If that face that we caught is the one speaking,
track
right?
everything.
To know that face is Sean. Yeah.
All right. Well, there's a lot of updates. I know we also
there's a lot of great stuff, and of course, we've only scratched the surface because we haven't even touched the photo albums, right? But great stuff. We released it on Monday. It's in public beta right now. It's available from our website. And as far as people who already have the studio version 21 is again a free download for all the studio owners. There's a difference if we're going to talk about the photo page. The photo page is also included in the free version as well, right? And the photo page itself it doesn't change materially between, say, the free version and the studio version, because what you get is an add-on of studio features that are available to you in Resolve effects or in the inspector. Things that you might need to do to that, because essentially you're bringing your stills photo work into DaVinci Resolve for color, and then you just end up with all the professional color tools to bring a node flow, but you get source resolution in the photo page, which is kind of a different interface.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, Sean.
Yeah, my pleasure, Joey.